Bienvenidos a Raíces.
Welcome to Raíces, a storytelling podcast celebrating the journeys, resilience, and healing of our communities.
We're three friends and co-founders, storytellers, creatives, and community builders, coming together to honor where we came from and the roots that shaped us.
Each episode, we share real conversations with change makers, healers, and everyday people who are breaking cycles, reclaiming identity, and creating impact in their own way. This is Raíces.
We're here. We did this. We had our first guest yesterday. We're doing things backwards, I feel, but we have no idea what we're doing. But this has been so much fun. And getting the podcast together for something that we really care about deeply, that we think is super important, is amazing. I went home to Keeson and I was just I feel really good about what I accomplished today. And I feel like there's so much goodness in it. And I'm just so proud to start this Raíces podcast with both of you. And I'm excited. So thank you guys for taking this crazy leap with me. I know it's been madness, but I hope that we can make this into something super special. When am I going to run across somebody that looks like me, that has the same cultural values, that has had similar hardships? And it almost brought me to tears. And I think that I sat with that sadness for a little bit. And I think, Melissa, I texted you and I was I have this idea in my head, would you do it with me? And I think you're I think I was thinking about this too. And so I don't know, maybe it was meant to be and it was destiny. And then we also have Ale, who we've been super busy in our lives, but we were able to connect. And she is an amazing creative and has always been since we were little, just super artistic, very light. And I was just hey, I gave her a call and I was just Ale, can you do this with me? And she was yes. And I was hell yeah, I have someone in my family who's always down. And I think she's always, since we were little, she's always been down. Just recently we were at my sister's house and we were let's go to a concert. And she was yes. And I was hell yeah, she's always down. So thank you, Ale, for joining and doing this with us.
Yeah.
Thanks for... Yeah, I'm glad we're all together and I feel we all need each other, right?
Yeah.
It's so special. Yeah, and thanks for bringing me on too. I think it just came up about naturally, and that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I didn't know how or what, but I think this is it. And just excited to see how it's going to unfold and the change. I think I'm excited for the change that we're going to make, but also the why and the reason that we're doing it with good intention, and just hopeful that it's going to bloom and blossom. And I think that's the idea to reach the community and to create some positive impact in people's lives by creating that relatability of oh wow, people's stories. And that's a story that is similar to, we can kind of relate on that. But I think it's also important, the why for me, I was sitting with this thought, the why for me is also to create the community and the relatability, but for people that look like us, right? I think it's also important to reach the people who don't look like us and they didn't have the same upbringing, or, maybe they grew up differently and they don't know. So I think it's important to share it in both ways, to within the community and outside of the community, hoping that it creates even some perspective shift of, okay, I understand them.
Yeah. So with that, to our listeners and our cheerleaders and our 40 family members that were added to our podcast, thank you so much for your support. We're here. The space is rented. Está rentado. We are just super excited, and we wanted to create this space to really celebrate stories that are rooted in healing and resilience and community. So let's do it.
And I think it's important, as much as we know that we want to share the stories of others, people who are making change in their community in big ways and what might seem like small ways, probably important for us to share our own stories as well and introduce people to us a little bit more. So I think it might be helpful to start with Raíces and the meaning.
Yeah.
The meaning of Raíces and then what that means to each of us.
I'll start first. I think for me, Raíces is really I just think of it as, a plant. And, when you plant something, it's rooted in the earth. And I think about that maybe with our culture. And I think for me, I was in the military and it was really easy to identify what I was a part of at that time without looking back. I left super young. I think I was like 18 or 19 and really lost touch with kind of like where I came from. And as I got older and as I had kids, I think there was just so much value and importance and like emotions and really understanding like where I came from and some of those challenges and obstacles and all those sacrifices that the people who came before me did for me to be here. And yeah, so that's what Raíces means to me.
Yeah, I can share. Raíces, it shifts what it represents for me over time. But I will say that right now, what's top of mind for me is a lot of reflection on the people who came before me. And specifically, for one reason or another, the women who came before me in my lineage. And I've been reflecting a lot on how their lives looked very different and recognizing that today, what I'm able to do and the way that I'm able to live. So, for context, like being 35, getting ready to turn 36 and living on my own, being divorced for 5 years, and now living this independent life where I've gotten to know who I am, but not having necessarily anything that's maybe in my way to get to know myself and to experience this financial freedom and freedom in many ways that I do think that the women who came before me may not have always had the opportunity to do. I think they grew up in very different environments, had different expectations. And so today I look at the roots of that to appreciate even further what I have and then to make sure that I'm continuing to live my life in a way that I want to make them proud. Like I just want to think that they're looking at me wherever they are and hopefully I'm making them proud and maybe making choices that they can look at and say, wow, I didn't necessarily get a chance to do that, but I'm glad that she is. That's where it's hitting for me right now.
For me, Raíces means similar to Gabby, I think nature, and I think about a tree because the roots are so intricate and it's almost like a webbing of connection. And the root is, I'm imagining, I'm not like a scientist, but I'm imagining the roots are like way bigger than the actual tree, right? And the fact that they're connected and intertwined, I think about that symbolically of how our families are connected and intertwined and we have the connection to ground us, right? Because like if I'm the tree and if my roots, I don't have the water and the sunlight and it's like the tree becomes weak, it's the roots that really anchor that tree. And I think about the roots being my family and how they're my family and friends and neighbors, coworkers. So they're all of my roots that make me strong. So that's how I think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into our identity and culture. What is something growing up that maybe you felt, Melissa, that, and you too, Gabby, about growing up and something of your identity that maybe you were shameful of or you wanted to hide? What was that like for you?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is that, so I'm Mexican American, and from my Mexican background, I've grown up and now have these features that are really strong. Things like dark, very thick hair. And even though I get compliments on it that I appreciate today, oh, like you have such thick hair. Wow, it's so long, grows so fast. I can reflect on growing up and feeling ashamed about the fact that that also came with, as a kid, dark facial hair and getting picked on, boys pointing out, oh, you have a mustache in middle school, or oh, you have sideburns. Yeah. And I remember just feeling very embarrassed and ashamed about it then. And it took me a long time. And I still have moments now where it's like, geez, I wish I didn't have to, take care of that all the time. Though I will say, certainly in the last year, I've grown an appreciation for it because I am proud of my background in all the ways that it shows up. And there's this trade-off that I appreciate about it too, where it's like, sure, darker thicker facial hair, but that also comes with the fact that I
Have gorgeous,
have
luscious hair.
It then reminds me of my mom or my tia or my grandma. We used to call her Lola, but it reminds me of them. And then I feel like I'm representing my family in that way. It gives me a lot of connection going back to roots.
Yeah.
So now I definitely embrace it and feel more proud of it.
And I think you have the most beautiful hair. I just want to touch it.
Okay.
Awesome. I think for me, maybe one thing I was kind of like shy and very reserved about was about the food I ate. I remember in elementary school, they had nutrition classes and they would have you log your food. And I would lie about the things that I ate. I wouldn't say I had frijoles con huevos or I had nopales, or I think I would change it. I'd be like, I had a turkey sandwich and a Caesar salad. But like now there's just so much beauty in like cuisine and the recipes that are shared within our culture, and how food really brings people together. And really, Mexican food is actually super healthy. If you know how to cook it, beans are so good for you. Nopales are so good for you. And you just really have to play with, how you cook those foods to really enjoy them. And it's just so darn good. I wish I had the time and the knowledge to cook all the meals that my mom, God bless her, would make for us as kids, because it's very laborious. But it's also super beautiful. What about you, Ale?
Ooh, I have a story for you guys. Talking about embarrassment. Okay, so growing up, we would take the bus, right? But there was this one specific memory that I have from my childhood. I must have been, I don't know, maybe it was like 3rd or 4th grade. And I needed a ride to school. My dad happened to be off of work. Anyway, so my dad ended up taking me to school. And just for context, my dad was a truck driver. And so he had this truck. It was like bright teal, a little bit rusty. And, I think it was like a Tahoe. And actually looking back now, I'm like, wait, that's a really cool car. But anyways, back then, it was a little rusty. It was kind of like his junk car, not like a junk car, but his for work, right? And he had all these tools in the back, and it was like, I don't even know if it had a seatbelt. But my dad, he would do that on purpose. He's like, I'm going to take you on the teal Tahoe. And I'm like, no. And like, he would pick at that because he knew that that would get me like, oh, what are people going to think about us? Yeah. So, and my dad being so playful and goofy, not only did he take me in the rusty truck, I remember when he dropped me off, he blasted on Mexican music on top of that. And it was like, for me, being a kid, it's like, oh, I don't want people to think like, I just want to hide. And looking back now, it's a funny story, right? Because I was embarrassed, and it's embarrassing to say that too, because at one point when you're a kid and you don't know what you know now as an adult, right? So back then, I'm like, people are going to know, like, we're Mexican. Like, I don't want people to know that. Or just, like, I don't know. It's just the narrative, right? But I look back on that story, and it's just funny because my dad did that on purpose, and maybe he was teaching me a lesson, right? Yeah. And he's like, now looking back, it's like he turned on the music, and it was, like, some norteña or banda type. And also, he was just proud to be Mexican, and he loved his music. He would always play it, and even till now, I really picked up on the music scene, and there's different artists that made it more popular, I feel like, recently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it just reminds me of him because sadly he's not with us anymore, but I think about him a lot, and I think about the lessons that's just one of them, right? But it's just, okay, we're proud to be Mexican, and I do turn up the music, and it makes me think of him.
Really special memory.
Yeah, thanks.
And the lesson on music. Mexican music is
So good.
It is.
definitely like clean to music.
Oh, yeah.
Any background music, I'm like, we're playing, today's top 100 like Mexican music, and my whole family listens to it.
And music is one of those things that can transport you back so quickly to specific memories like that. You put on a song and suddenly you're a kid again.
Yeah.
Waking up because it's turning up all loud because your family's starting to clean on Sunday or something,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of power in that.
Or like baptisms, quinceañeras, just like a random Sunday party or Saturday party where all your cousins are there and there's good food. And I'm thinking of like drinks in the coolers with ice, and I don't know, it's just fun.
Do you guys ever get when you're listening to music and you listen to the lyrics in Spanish and then you're like, wow, that was so deep, and you try to translate it in English and it's not the same?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, reflect. We're doing a lot of reflection. So I'm kind of curious too, like what is a ritual or something that you do today that you can now look at and say, well, that was a ritual or something that I built from the way that I grew up that I now carry with me? Maybe a daily ritual or weekly ritual.
I don't know if I really I can't think of a ritual.
I have a funny one. When you have to remember you're going out, and then so I always check my stove. Well, also, I live alone too. Is the comalan? I always have that fear because my mom would always say it. Go check, because there's been a couple of times where it's been on, and then we come home and it's like smoking and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like the comal was on.
That's so true. That's actually a good one.
Yeah.
I think maybe my mom used to work a lot, and so we're a family of 4 girls. And so we would always, when we were home alone, we would watch TV for like 5 hours. And then like when my mom was going to come back, we would all clean up. So I feel like cleaning, sometimes even like before my husband comes home, I'm just like, oh shoot, I need to clean. Someone's going to yell at me. It's maybe something that just comes to mind. What about you, Melissa?
It made me think. I asked because one thing that is a part of my everyday that I cannot start my day without is my cafecito. And it all started when I was a young kid. I remember my grandma introducing me to coffee. And of course, she, drowned it in milk and a lot of sugar. But that first sip that I had when I was a kid, I was like, woo, what is this?
Oh, yeah.
I love this. And now it's part of my everyday. Now I drink my coffee black because of all the years I've now built resiliency towards caffeine, thanks to my grandma. But I do think of her. I think that, and then I always have a memory of her drinking that, and then she always had to have a sweet treat. Oh, it's like a slice of cheesecake.
A concha.
A concha was like a favorite of ours too.
Yeah, that was a ritual. I think that like growing up, we lived super close together, and every Sunday or every weekend we were having breakfast at each other. Our parents were having breakfast at each other's house, and it was café con canela.
Yeah.
Like together, and then we would have some sort of breakfast.
Yeah.
And it was like scorching hot, and we would have café with the scorching hot food to go with it. I think that's kind of like a shared ritual.
I think so. Yeah, now that you say it, and the cafecito at night too.
Yes.
Yeah, people come over at night. My family still does it, and they're like also showing up unannounced is kind of like a thing in our culture that's normal. But I love it because, it's just special. And then you come over and you have coffee. Sometimes it's like 11 and you're drinking caffeine, but y luego estamos platicando. There's storytelling, and it's so nice.
It is. Thanks for bringing us back to that. Yeah, that's cool. I feel like now we get so busy. I'm in bed by 8 p.m., but it'd be nice to get back to that. And now we're like, let's schedule it. Let's put it on the calendar.
What's a day a month from now that you might be available to meet up?
Let's catch up over email. Things like that.
Yeah.
Another thing that came up for me, Gabby, when you were talking about cleaning, when we were kids, I remember you were like, Mom, I'm bored. And then she would always have the same response. She's like, pues ponte a limpiar.
For sure. I feel like it's ingrained in me. That's so funny.
I still that and the chanclas.
Yes, that's like another ritual is like in my household. For sure. That's one. Anytime you're home, you have to put your chanclas on. Like, ponte las chanclas o te vas a enfermar. Like, put your sandals on or you're going to get sick. Even now, like I'm 34 and she'll tell my kids. So we're all wearing socks and sandals in our house. And even when they go outside, if I drop them off for a little bit, I come home and my kids are wearing 2 different socks and sandals. And it's just really funny.
Oh, yeah, I remember we would wear your dad's socks too. If there was nothing. Then los calcetines.
I wonder, is that even true? Like, do people get sick because they don't have chanclas on? I'm going to have to
I
look
don't know.
into it.
Yeah, we need to look
I
into
don't think
that.
it's true. I mean, I walk around California barefoot everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah.
We'll look into that.
I can look into it.
I like the feeling of being barefoot. I love it.
Yeah.
And touching grass. And I think I'm just traumatized from like having to wear socks for the last 20 years of my life where I lived with my mom.
So, Ale, I'm curious about a time when you felt really proud of your culture, whether it was as you were growing up or maybe even today.
Yeah, something that comes up for me is my family and the family values that we carry and how close-knit we are. I come from a really big family from both my mom and my dad's side, and I get really inspired by the community that we're building. And even with, I think about food, right? My mom, she cooks really good, and she makes specifically really good tamales. Whenever we make tamales, it becomes something special. It's not just you cook it, and tamales are handmade. So there's a lot of work that gets put into it. There's the corn husk. It's from scratch, the masa, everything. And, you know, my mom, she'll call up so-and-so, invite them over. It just kind of becomes a celebration of, but also mixed with that community aspect, right? Because during high and low times, we have to be there for one another. And just through food, it's so simple, right? But for me, tamales is not just, it represents our culture too, because, I mean, I wish I knew more of the history behind it, and that would be really interesting to explore.
Yeah.
But I know that it brings people together. And when you're making tamales, it's not necessarily just like making a couple. You make like a huge batch. Sometimes it's maybe like a couple or 5 dozen. There's a lot of them. You can cook it in like a huge pot. And it also makes me think about, you know, it's like you bring some home, and whoever comes over, you give like 20 of tamales to them. And I just think about how that trickles down and it transpires to even, you know, you're not making tamales just for like your mom and your sister and your brother. It's like you're making them for like your cousin, your aunt, your tío, and like the neighbor, the dog. And then even people who have never tried tamales, they're like, oh, what is this? And it's so interesting. I've had to bring some to work, and then they're like, wow, what is this? Like, how do you eat it? And I think that's like a really nice way to introduce like our culture through food, and like that. But also, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, is like the connection that it brings through just food.
Yeah.
And I think I'm really proud of that, in the sense of it's more of the community aspect for me, just like that tight, like being there for each other and just come on over and share. Like it's about sharing and caring for each other.
It'd be cool to get my aunt to write the recipe for the tamales.
Yeah, I already told her. I'm like, you can't say no.
Yeah. They're probably like, un poquito de sal. And you're just like, how much though? Is it like a teaspoon or like a quarter teaspoon? I don't know.
Yes, we need to learn, and we need to keep that alive. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take like a PTO day to prepare.
No, honestly.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's like 5 hours, 6 hours. I remember I made it with my sisters once, and my knees hurt. My knees hurt from like standing and just
Like slapping it.
yeah. And I'm just like, I just became snappy towards the end. I'm like, yo, how many more tamales do we have? They're like 35. I'm like, Jesus.
There's even technique that goes into it.
Yeah.
And then it's like you teach each other, and how do you do it?
Yeah.
Yes, they're made with love, lots of love. Can you think of something or somebody that's inspiring you right now at this moment? Who is that? And can you tell us a little bit more about the story and why?
It's hard to nail it down to one person, because I do want to say that this has been a rough year for specifically the immigrant community. And what's been inspiring me time and time again are individuals, but also collectives who have used their voice to speak up about what's going on and shed light on it in many different ways. So I think there's a lot of community efforts and organizations, that inspires me. If I think about people who are in brighter, have more spotlight on them. Okay, a lot of people know that I'm a huge Bad Bunny fan. They just know that about me. But I will say that I'm not a fan of Bad Bunny only because of his music. He has incredible music. But he also inspires me in the way that he incorporates depth into his messaging and that he's never afraid to advocate for Puerto Rico. And recently, not just Puerto Rico, but he made a music video that really gave a lot of positive images and reminders of the power and importance of immigrants in the United States. And that's really inspiring to me. So when I think of, yes, big artists, but then also people just in the community that are doing this work, it inspires me also to not feel afraid to use my own voice and to speak up where I can. And that looks like either in one-on-one conversations where maybe someone says something that I just know is not okay. And feeling that confidence that's fueled by that inspiration to say, wait a second, let's unpeel that. Let's talk about that a little bit more and why that might be offensive or why there might be something to uncover here and learn more about. But also trying to share messaging myself on my personal social media. And now it translates to here in this setting as well. But I think that's a lot of what inspires me.
I have been inspired by a lot of women in sports lately. I think particularly I came across Renata Sarasua and Patty Ornelas. Patty is from Guerrero and she is surfing out of like Hermosa Beach. And I was just like so interested. I think her Instagram says like Vaquera de las Olas, which is like cowboy of the waves. And I was like, yeah, that's so badass. Cool. And I was like looking on her Instagram and just, she does like really cool things. She'll use Mexican artistry when she's out surfing, but she's also like very authentically herself. And I think also like as a mom, I'm just like, that's so badass to have like a daughter do that and to be a first or like a groundbreaker in that type of like sporting community. And I would be so curious to have her on this show and ask her what it's like and how she had the opportunity of doing that. A lot of people in our community aren't near the beach. And, you know, she's in Hermosa Beach, which is like a beautiful side of LA. And it's just like, yo, how did you get there? Like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. So it'd be cool to get to know her. And also Renata Sarasua is a tennis player, Mexican tennis player out of Mexico City. And she is like paving the way for Mexican women in tennis. And I think that's amazing. Like she had a large upset at a US Open, and just to have somebody that is Mexican competing at the US Open is amazing. And it would be cool to have her here or, you know, have her in front of young Hispanic athletes that are looking into things like this and saying like, hey, you can do this too. This is how I got here. And this is the dedication that I had, or these are the people that supported me, and it'd be just amazing.
The power of representation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't realize it until you see it.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, this means a lot to me. I don't normally see someone that looks like me in this sport or on, you know, at that stage in their career or what have you. And then when it happens, it feels so special.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to bring them on.
So Renata, Patty, we hope to have you guys. Any other professional athletes that are out there doing their thing would be cool to have on.
Okay, so let's talk about our cookbook. Melissa had this really great idea of a way for the community to support us. And we were thinking of creating a cookbook with different recipes. So not only is it going to help us grow in the future, but also a way to invite people together to have recipes. I almost think of it as a community cookbook. So different recipes from our heritage and our culture. And
different recipes, but also like different levels. We need like level beginner to level señora. We're expert, and you have a molcajete, and you have the tortilla presser, and I don't know what else I'm trying to think of what else my mom has in her kitchen that I don't own.
Tortillas de harina. I don't know how to make that.
Yeah.
So if you have the recipe, share it. We'll put it on our cookbook.
I'm putting in tuna sandwich.
Are you? No, for beginner level.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a classic. You know, tuna sandwich.
How to make a
quesadilla would be good. how to flip a tortilla, how to callus your hands,
Right.
how to become the comal so you can put the tortilla in your hand.
Did you know that in Mexico City, when you order a quesadilla, you have to say con queso?
Oh.
Because otherwise they just give you meat or something. But it's just like you have to say quesadilla con queso. But you would think, right, that it's together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, a recipe will have, make sure you have queso.
No, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's funny.
This cookbook idea actually came to me because when we think about roots too, I was thinking about how one of my favorite ways to feel like I'm connected, my mom's at a distance, my mom lives in Texas, but the way that I feel connected to her is through cooking meals that she made for me growing up. And so every single time I travel, when I get back home, the first thing I want to do is make something that she made me. And I thought of, it's so simple, but she just called it picadillo. But we know our family members who are so good at clearing out the pantry. They could just take anything from the pantry and turn it into something. Yeah. And so she called it picadillo, but it was literally ground beef with whatever she could put together from the pantry. Yeah. So that could be like diced up potato, or she'd even fit corn in there sometimes, whatever she could. But the base of it was always the same. The ground beef and the tomato sauce blended with usually like chicken bouillon and everything else. So that's the kind of stuff that I think about, that it just takes me back to being a kid on my mom's couch, smelling all the scents of my mom's cooking, and now doing that for myself. Cute. One time I said picadillo because I just thought it was so common, and the person I was talking to was like, beef? I was like, well, to us it meant something more.
All right, guys. So I think that's all the time we paid for. So the next podcasters are up next. And I just want to thank you guys for coming on here. I think this was a really good time. And I'm so excited to see who we get to speak to in the future.
Yeah. This feels so surreal.
I know, like we're here.
And yeah, just to be clear, we did this in like 3 months. So
yeah. And one of my favorite parts of our conversations from the beginning has been that because we're looking at this as let's just take the step, we know that we're going to learn so much along the way. We're not going to be perfect. We're probably going to have moments where like, I probably could have worded that better. But I say this and acknowledge it too, because like we welcome all the feedback. So if people are really interested in one particular part that we're talking about and they want us to talk about it more, like, let's hear it. And if there's something that we can learn from, we want to hear that too.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be building this as we go.
Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in to our first episode. Is that a wrap on Raíces podcast?
Yes.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
2.
And cut.